There we go. Now we are recording this so that we can play it back if we wish. The CISA, which is the United States Cybersecurity and Information Security Agency, which is part of Homeland Security, announced that they had come up with an updated draft, it's still in draft form, of the National Cyber Incident Response Plan, NCIRP. And they opened up on the 16th, they opened it up for comment, 30 days, and they are soliciting public comments. That's us. So this is an opportunity that I just could not pass up. And here's why. And we'll talk about it a little bit in the later slides. But for you, imagine in your cybersecurity career being able to say, yes, I reviewed and provided comment for the National Cyber Incident Response Plan. It'll be like, whoa, you know, not just, oh, you know, we did this stuff to try and, you know, like reporting phishing or learning about Kali Linux or whatever. This is national incident response. From a nation standpoint, how should the United States of America tell their people to handle incident response? So for me, the fact that it allows for public comment, you're going to remember this the rest of your career, that you participated in this. In addition, you're going to be able to get your name into the National Register to say you did this. All right, this is something nobody can ever take away from you. So that's why I wanted us all to participate in this and enjoy doing it, even if, you know, we'll talk about it as we go on. So let's talk about the NCIRP. By the way, if you have any questions or comments or anything, just raise your hand. But we can talk about this after I'm done as well. The NCIRP, this is their definition. It's a strategic national framework. In other words, it's not a policy, it's a framework for how federal, private sector, that's you and me, state, local, tribal, and territorial, and international partners address cyber incidents. All right? This is a national framework. In other words, it's going to be extremely high level. It's not going to say, you know, click this. It's going to say, when a cyber incident occurs, what should we all do? In other words, it's going to approach it from the highest level in terms of process maturity. If we all do it, it should be the best approach. All right, so this would be best practice as we're looking at it. So let's ask ourselves, what is a cyber incident? And this is a big, monstrous definition, but I think it's important for us to go through it. It's an event, in other words, it has occurred, occurring on or conducted through a computer network. In other words, cyber means connected, all right? Actually or imminently jeopardizes the integrity, confidentiality, or availability. You guys remember that from your Security Plus? That's the CIA triad. Information or communication systems or networks, physical or virtual infrastructure controlled by computers. Physical or virtual infrastructure controlled by computers or information systems. You guys remember what that's called? Anybody? It's called OT, operational technology. All right, physical or virtual infrastructure, like when they had the water treatment facilities that people got into those remote controllers, and were doing things like adjusting the salinity level or the, dumping chlorine or whatever. That was a cyber incident in OT, operational technology. So we're talking about IT, we're talking about OT, and it says, or information resident thereon. A cyber incident may include a vulnerability in an information system. By the way, that's sort of what we are going to be focusing on, because a vulnerability in an information system is, and I'm going to go back to our incident response team, it is a email security filter that lets something through. That's a vulnerability. All right? So it may include a vulnerability in an information system, system security procedures. What do you do? What do you do? You don't just delete it. Internal controls, in other words, how we tell our people to do things, or implementation that could be exploited by a threat source. So this, by the way, comes directly from the Presidential Policy Directive number 41. And when we start getting into the comments, I'm going to share with you a couple of the comments that have already been registered. And one person said, hey, we're using too many terms. We're coming up with new definitions. Well, this is not a new definition. They referred to a previous definition, and that's always a smart thing to do. All right? Make sense? So here's where the draft comments, or the draft and the comment request are. I'm going to copy it. Let's see if I can copy it and drop it into the chat. I'm going to share it on the screen, but this is for, everybody can take a look at this. This is the Federal Register where they talk about it. So don't go in there yet, because I'm sharing this stuff on the screen. But this is what they're talking about, and they're asking for you, us, the CyberSecurity Sensei mentorship program team, to go and provide our comments on regulations.gov. Sounds cool. So why are they asking for public comment? I've got a couple thoughts on that. I believe, number one, they're trying to give this the broadest view by everybody. This is going to be reviewed by government entities. It's going to be reviewed by corporations. It's going to be reviewed by cyber service providers. And it's also going to be reviewed by large and probably medium-sized companies to say, how do we do this? How does the government recommend we handle cyber incidents? However, this also allows smaller groups, such as you and I, to examine this and say, does this cover what we, the citizens, would do? All right, so that's why I think this is a perfect time for us to engage and take a look at it, not just from a national government standpoint. Microsoft and Apple and all those guys are going to be looking at this and saying, yeah, sure, this makes sense. Let's look at this from the standpoint of, does it help us? Does it help the people we talk to and we speak to out, in public or whatever? So just something to think about. This may be a little hard to see, but this is our timeline. On the 16th, they announced that this was available for review. On the 17th, I announced to everybody that we're going to cover it, that we're going to take a look at it, and we're going to provide comment. 21st, that's today, we're doing our first kickoff webinar, and then we're going to have 3 more webinars. Next Saturday, the Saturday after that, and the final one on January 11th. And we're just going to talk about this. We're going to say, is there anything that you saw when you were reviewing, something that looked like it was a good idea, or it didn't explain it well, or things are missing, or that sort of stuff. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to look at the whole document and say, is it ready to publish? In other words, is it as perfect as we can make it. We, the public, providing comment to the Department of Homeland Security. Okay? These are 4 questions I think that it will help us to focus on. Not just let's look at the document, but number 1, how does it serve us specifically? Individual citizens, family units, and small groups. Because everyone else is looking at it from a national, how do we handle stuff for intel? How do we handle stuff for, this billion-dollar corporation or whatever? Okay, but how about mom? I think that is a viewpoint that is probably going to be overlooked or at least underrepresented. So how does this address small people? Number 2, are certain sections fully sufficient and correct to address individual stakeholder perspectives? That's us. Is it helpful for individual stakeholders, or is it just the big guys? We need to know. That's what we're going to be examining this in relation to. Number 3, is it pertinent to the lowest common denominator? My inbox, your inbox, your desktop, your mom's banking, those sorts of things, okay? Lowest common denominator. With some updates, could it be made more pertinent to the individual or small group stakeholders? All right? And then number 4, what updates might be helpful to make it more relevant and more effective in reference to individual and small groups? Everybody else is handling all the big stuff. Absolutely. I want us to focus on that lowest common denominator, the individual or the small groups. And so the next question is, why are we doing it? Why are we doing it? These, again, are my thoughts. We're uniquely positioned because most of the people in this mentorship team are coming from non-cybersecurity backgrounds. That means our head is still out in the public. Our focus is still out in the public. We are learning to think like all of these cyber service providers, like these cyber teams, like these, the people that work for CISA. We're starting to think like them, but we're not there yet. So that means we have that pedestrian viewpoint that others might overlook. And that's why I think this is exceedingly opportune for us to participate. We don't yet have the skills that are needed to say, from a cyber standpoint, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but we're looking at this from a me standpoint. So we have what I call the public perspective. Make sense? Next one. Okay, they're asking us for comments. What is a good comment? Everybody says there's no such thing as a bad question or whatever. Well, what is considered to be a good comment? Here's the thing. They didn't ask for good comments. They asked for comments. So any comment that could improve the document is appropriate, down to and including you missed a comma. All right? Any comment, even the comment, everything looks fine, will become part of the federal record. All right? So at the very least, if we look at it all and we say, oh, this is a gorgeous document, it works very well for the individual stakeholders, we can't come up with anything to make it better, we're going to write that down. And we're going to submit it with all of our names. The CyberSecurity Sensei mentorship program, including the following individuals. This is what we say in our comments. Does that make sense? and it goes into the Federal Register. It's going to stay there forever. Okay? So let's keep going. How and what to review as you're looking at it. I just sort of came up with some suggestions. The best approach is to review based on your viewpoint. Don't try and learn something new in order to review this. Review it from your perspective as somebody who doesn't know all the terms, as somebody who doesn't know process definitions. You're just sort of like, yikes, something appeared in my inbox. What do I do? That's the viewpoint I want us to look from. So you could, and I've got some ideas there, format an organization. Does it have everything it needs to have? Is it arranged in a manner that seems to be helpful and optimal? Okay, it may all be there, but 3 probably belongs before 2 or something like that. Okay? Format, organization, content, and approach. Are they forgetting the little guy? We should specifically ask that. Number 3, possible gaps or areas not fully addressed. I'm going to show you one comment that we'll take a look at where somebody says, hey, this should be included, but we have to remember that this is an incident response plan. In other words, it's addressing cyber incidents. It's not addressing the entire cybersecurity system. It's just for incidents. Okay? And then number 4, spelling, grammar, and punctuation. They ask for comments. And you missed a comma is a comment. Also, acronyms and reference pointers. And you see down at the bottom, I gave a hint, line 475. We'll take a look at that. And lastly, if it's referencing something else, don't go out and look at that something else and say that's wrong. Just look at the document as they have presented it to us. And as always, let's have fun at this. We just want to make it better. If it's great, then we can say, I reviewed the National Cyber Incident Response Plan. And you're going to go into your interviews and people are going to say, oh, wow, what did you think? And that's your comment. Well, we said blah, blah, blah. We can skip the part about the missing comma, but you can say, it seems to be organized well. Does it take into account the little guys? We don't know yet. That's why we're reviewing it. Okay? Anybody have any questions? Comments? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this document. I'm sorry. It has 42 pages, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm just taking a look now.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like we can even download the document.
Yes.
So
yeah, and I do recommend you download it rather than looking at it online.
Yeah, download and print out.
Download the PDF.
Can you send us the slideshows, but to the email, please?
Oh, the slideshows.
Yes.
I guess I could.
Thank you, Anderson. I was going to ask that.
Thank you.
All right. There's only one link in it, so otherwise I'm just talking. But sure.
My reasoning, Scotty, slide 4 is a very important slide in what you went over and what we need to be looking for. So that would be my reasoning to have it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever slide 4 was. 4. Oh, the link.
No, the what and how to review.
Cyber incident?
The one that you were just on before you showed the link that says what and how to review.
Oh, yeah, that's 13.
Yeah, slide 13. Thank you.
Okay.
I think that's the key part. Mm-hmm.
I will share that with everybody. So let me do that right now before I forget. Anyone with the link can view, copy the link, done. Go into our chat. Wow, you got it. All right, so as we're looking at it, here is the Federal Register announcement. And it basically says, we want your comments. And then you're going to see down here, it's going to say like request, submit a comment, you know, and here's all the, you know, organization and all this sort of thing. I wanted to go in here and look at this. It says public comments. 16 comments have already been received. This thing was announced 5 days ago, and they've already received 16 comments. I can anticipate that by the time they get through with the 30-day period, they could have 1,000 comments in here. All right, so right now we can look at the first 16. I'm not going to look at all of them, but I'm going to give you some ideas as to what they have said, the individual commenters. And you'll notice some of them are very on point and some of them are not. All right, so let's go take a look at it. 16 comments, click on this, and we'll take a look at a couple of them. One of them was submitted by Citizen of the United States. Well, this person obviously wanted to remain anonymous, but you click on it and it says, the Biden-Harris administration had 4 years to update this document. Please consider delaying the publication of this document until the new administration comes in and can make their mark. Closing the comment period 5 days before the inauguration is short-sighted and wastes taxpayer-supported and funded efforts. They're sort of like, hey, give the Republicans a chance. So, okay, that's a comment.
Well, they do. No, sorry, stop, Chris.
What's that?
I said, well, they do. And I said, stop, Chris.
Yeah. So, you know, you look at some of these and they're like, that's a comment. That is a comment. Let's look at another one from Joan Carr. I was sort of zeroing in on hers. I took a look at a number of these, not all of them. But Joan says, please do not forget training for end users. Blah, 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 blah. And she is talking about just the folks used to attach the sticky notes to their computers at work. So she's talking about what we're looking at, and that's the lowest common denominator. However, she said, what about training? For an incident response plan, training should already be there. So what she is suggesting is a good idea, obviously, but it doesn't belong in the incident response plan. See what I'm saying? Training,
that would be like more preventing, right?
Train as part of a response. Unless you're all done and you've gotten the lessons learned and you say, oops, we should have trained on this, and then you schedule training to fill the gap that was left by the incident as it occurred. Chris?
I'm reading this, Scotty, as, hey, there's a fire. What do we do when there's a fire? And are there fire drills? Are there preparation steps to prevent fires? And I'm saying fire as the cyber incident, but using the same. That's the way I'm reading this person's comment.
I agree. And this person has a very valid point. I'm not saying anything about that. But what I am saying is that what she's talking about is not part of an incident response process. It should be part of their overall cyber posture, yes.
Can you explain that further, Scotty, as a challenge?
Sure.
A flight challenge? Yep.
Sure. Incident response, remember, let's go back to the definition of the document. This is for cyber incidents. And it says, what do you do with a cyber incident? So the cyber incident could be as big as, you know, Microsoft getting hacked. It could be as small as you getting a phishing email in your inbox. The response should be generic enough so that each one of their approaches can address it, from the big to the small. But training is not incident response. And like I said, the only time where training would be appropriate is at the very end, where you say, did this occur as a result of lack of training? And
Understood.
then you would recommend training. But incident response is not the time to train. You should be training before the incident occurs.
Agreed. Thank you.
Yep. And by the way, everybody, I'm trying to give you the words and the process that will allow you to become, I'm going to use my word again, conversant, so that when you go into your interview, these are the sorts of things that your employer is going to ask you. How do you respond? You know, do you put training in incident response? No, training is appropriate for prior to or at the end after you come up with lessons learned. But it's not appropriate during incident response. Oh, you know, our internet's down. Let's go to training. See what I'm saying? Make sense? All right. So her point is taken, and it will make sense. They may add a sentence early on in the executive summary or something that says, remember that, you know, everything works together and occurs when an incident occurs, including training or something like that. All right? So that's from We the People. There are others in here. Let's see. I think I had another one I was going to look at. Joan Carr, Jane, Grant, Mark. I think it was Mark I was looking at. Let me look. Yeah. See, he is looking at very specific portions. It says in a level 4 or level 5 event. Well, what do you mean about level 4 or level 5? I'm glad you asked me that. This is in the document, so let's go take a look. Let's see, phishing activities, CS-Sensei, come on, NCIRP. No, it's not in here. It's up here. There we go. So I'm going to just bring this up so you can take a look at it. This is in this document, and it basically says level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What we're looking at is basically levels 1, 2, and possibly 3 from an individual standpoint. All right? They're talking about national security here, but what about public health or safety? If your X-ray materials are exfiltrated out to the cloud, your health and safety could be jeopardized. So think about it that way. We're not looking from the perspective of the healthcare system. We're looking at the perspective of your stuff when it goes out there. All right? So always be looking from an individual perspective. This guy provided his inputs based on a level 4 and 5 from a national perspective. And I envision many people are looking at it from that perspective. But we're not looking big picture. We're looking little picture, okay? By the way, this the woman that shared Jane, when she shared hers, she said training. Well, here's preparation. Preparation, you notice, let's see if I can make it a little bigger. Preparation, oops, is appropriate at level 0. Oops, at level 0. See? Level 0, preparation. That's where the training would occur. But we're not talking about that. This black box denotes when the incident occurs. Level 0 is prior to, or something that was unsubstantiated. Okay? Make sense? This is in your document, and it's helpful for you to take a look at it early on. It's in the appendices, and just take a look at it, and so that you understand where they're talking about a level 4, level 5, or whatever. That's what they're referring to. All right? So this guy, Mark Morgan, talking about a level 4 or level 5 event. Great. Let him handle that. Don't get caught up in these national type things, because that's not what you're most comfortable with. You're comfortable with your inbox. You're comfortable with your mom telling you, honey, what should I do with this? Or your sister saying, hey, this happened, how do I handle this? See what I'm saying? Look at this specifically from the viewpoint of somebody who's just getting into cyber. All the big national stuff, let the pros handle that. But they're forgetting your mom. And you need to take a look at this and say, is this helpful for the individual citizen or small groups? What about your Boys and Girls Club? What about your HOA? What about your Kiwanis Club or American Legion or your Girl Scout pack? Try and look at it from that viewpoint, because those are the people you talk with every day. Am I making sense? Let the big guys handle the big stuff. And we're going to be one of these comments. And when we do it, we are going to be putting our name into it. Let's see, I've got this comment. Yeah, see this one? Says, you omitted stakeholders, and they are blah, blah, blah. And he says, I am Richard Lozier, the principal managing partner of Rainmaker Venture Group, LLC. His email address, his website, his LinkedIn thing, and a mobile phone number in case you want to reach it. Okay, he's putting that into the Federal Register, remember, which means even the bad folks get to see all this. He put his mobile phone number out there. We're not going to do that. But that's the sort of comment that we're going to put. CyberSecurity Sensei, mentorship team, and then all of our names. And that's what you are going to be able to be proud of. We're going to have a tracking number. You notice it's got a tracking number right on it. You're going to put that into your resume and say, we provided comment into the Federal Register tracking number blah. And nobody can take that away from you.
Sorry, I have a question.
That's why I think this is so perfect for us. We are studying this. And then the federal government comes in and says, what do you think? We are looking at this from a bunch of students, from a bunch of people who are just starting in the industry. Sure, I can play with that 4 or 5 level because that's what I've done for the last 30 years, but I don't want to. I'm concerned with how this program can use the National Cyber Incident Response Plan. Is it helpful for us and the people that we serve? Any comments, questions, thoughts?
I have a question. So we're going to get each of us is going to review it, and then we all together are gonna do a comment.
A very good question. my hope is that because we're doing this over the course of the next 4 webinars, we're going to be bringing our comments in and putting them all together. And then anybody who wants to help me, we're going to review and edit those, condense them down, so it's not, Anderson says this, Ron says this, Nerman says this, Chris says this. It's going to be a unified approach, and it's going to say, we, the CyberSecurity Sensei team, have these comments. Comment 1, comment 2, comment 3. So I think that we're going to start with the ones that we believe are going to be most helpful and end with the ones that say things like, you forgot a comma. All right? So I'm going to give you a view. Did that answer your question, Anderson, before I go on?
Yes, that sounds good for me.
Okay.
I am really interested.
You can submit your comments in email. You can submit them in Facebook. You can put them in a chat. I don't care, just so long as it gets together to us. I will keep everything together, and we'll review the comments each week.
I mean,
there's no bad comments.
I mean, once we get all comments, I mean, it's easy. We can just use AI to just take all those comments and give the final final
to make it look pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It's much easier to just submit. Yeah, but I'm just thinking of something. I was just actually, I just put this in AI, the whole document, and asking to kind of analyze the document and provide a detailed summary. And I was just quickly reading. I'm just thinking something. How much of this plan is going to be implemented or accepted by federal agencies? I mean, from my own experience, I mean, most of those federal agencies, they don't have really good cybersecurity posture. Yesterday, actually, I was speaking with one of my friends who actually, she works for some cybersecurity company, and they work with government agencies as a contractor. And she was telling me about how they're using some legacy systems. It's something that, I mean, I don't even know what to say. I'm crazy surprised, and I don't know. I would say my grandma has better cyber security posture, and I don't know. Do you guys remember the story? What federal agency was that? When the employees using the work phone for personal things. And that was really big news, and so surprised. I was so surprised. I can't remember. I have to dig in this story, find the story, and maybe give you more details. But yeah, it's I don't know. So, and I also when I'm listening to those cybersecurity headlines and news every day, I don't know. It doesn't sound that this something like this will be implemented in government agencies. My opinion is and I have feeling this will be only on the paper. They will have somewhere on the paper, but I don't know. I think
I'm gonna be careful with my language without sharing any proprietary things or anything controversial. First off, from my standpoint and my position, yes, there is legacy software. Yes, there is legacy hardware. It is not good posture to have that from an observer standpoint. I will pull Scotty's language here and say there's a tug of war between operations and security. Security sits there and says this is not good posture. Operations says I have to serve the customer and keep the lights on no matter what. And the customer says my precious budget thing, because of Carl's of the world, actually hinting at you about a Joe Auger article. There's these applications that they've used so much that either A, they don't have the money to modernize, or B, they're choosing not to modernize and say, hey, this application works, it's not broke, why are we fixing it now? And what's the cost of it in the end? And that's the tug of war between the operations group and the security group. And that's why there is a legacy software and legacy hardware there. I mean, Scotty and I, Scotty, you can nod or say, don't say anything. We battle our different customers every single day when we want to update something, and oh, heaven forbid it hurts their precious hardware or their precious software. And I'm going to tell you, it's everywhere. Yeah. It's not just the federal government.
Yeah.
So that we want to respond to your question.
It should not be like that, especially in government agencies. It should be the law. So you as a cybersecurity specialist, you should not like have argument or need to fight with someone inside your organizations about cybersecurity posture.
That is great and wonderful until the CEO thumps his chest or her chest and say, profits over security.
And that's why this mentorship program focuses on talking in the language of the Chief Information Security Officer. We focus on business risk, bottom line, and lessons learned. Mm-hmm. Tools are great, techniques are great, processes are great, but these are the things that are going to get you the programs you need to make your organization successful. So this is how you're going to approach it when you talk to your CISO, who's going to talk to the CEO and CFO to try and get the money to do it. So that's why we're doing this. We're trying to make sure that it's in the business approach of cybersecurity, not just how to do pen testing. Okay, I want you guys to be thinking in reference to the business of the cybersecurity organization, always, because that's where the money's going to come from.
And Nerman, I feel your anger, I feel your pain. I've hit my head against the wall multiple times or on the table multiple times till it hurts hard. But that's just the reality. I mean, we could be superheroes, put out our Superman chest and say, yep, that's the law, we shouldn't be doing this, update or else. But then you realize that, whoops, that update's going to cost us more money, or it's going to put people down, it's going to cost profits.
No, I understand that. Mm-hmm. I have the same issue in my organization. I was telling you last time, so nobody likes us. But right. I'm just thinking between government and the companies like Google, whatever, mid-sized companies, whatever. I have feeling that people doing better job in those companies than in government, and I'm just really surprised because you can't enforce any law inside the company. I can't go there and tell them, hey, there is the law. This is But I'm just thinking in government agencies, because it's government. So I'm just thinking that you guys should not have those issues. If there is the law, this plan, if this plan accepted and that says you have to follow those rules. So why would you need to fight with someone inside your organizations and telling them and they reject your whatever, your proposal or whatever, your plan for something, and you have to go and say, hey, there is the law, we have to follow those rules. I mean, I just cannot accept that. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense for me. I understand that you also have to think about the customer's bottom line. So I got that. But what's the purpose of if you just focusing on money or on focusing on customers and making customers happy, if you're putting a huge risk on your organizations, like something really bad happened, and then everyone will be in trouble, and even your customer, and you're going to lose money and everything. The whole point about cybersecurity is to protect like sensitive information, to protect like money, to protect like the business like processes, whatever, like production, whatever. So that's the whole point of cybersecurity. And if you don't let me to do that, you're just looking for money, bottom line, customer. I want a customer to be happy. I want, I don't know, John from the HR department to be able to do his job. Don't put so many, like, whatever, like things. Like, I understand, but what's the point, like, if something happens, like, everyone will be in trouble. So that's why I know it's so hard to understand, but I was just hoping that everyone will kind of understand this and accept, say, like, yes, we can save money if we cut budget for cybersecurity division. We can save money if we keep this, like, oh, we will not put MFA because our customer's not happy about that, so people want to log in quickly and do the job. Yeah, I understand that, but what if something happened? And it will happen one day. Maybe not today, but one day it will happen, and everything will go down. What then? So then we will not make any money, so customers will not be happy. I don't know. I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
This is just my opinion.
Yeah. I've not been through those upper level talks where we have to tell the people, Scotty, hey, this is the risk. Sign off on it. It's not now on you since you sign off on it, because I've heard that we've done that before.
Yes. In our organization, it requires somebody who has access to the budget to say, I accept the risk of this. So yeah, it's an ongoing thing, Norman, and you're talking about the basic struggle between operational efficiency and doing it in a safe manner. I can remember, and here's a phrase just to keep in the back of your mind and, you know, bring up every once in a while. The work that we do is designed to keep our boss's name off the front page of the Chicago Tribune. But that's a way of doing it.
Washington Post, New York Times, pick your paper.
Washington Post, New York Times, yep.
But I mean,
in other words, I want this organization to be successful, but we also are responsible for trying to communicate that risk so that our leadership can make informed decisions based on their knowledge of the risk. So that's why we have to speak in terms of business risk.
No, I get it, but like, let's say like someone says like, yeah, I'm the one in charge and I accept this risk. Okay, and what, like something happened? So is that person going to be responsible? No. Who will suffer? End users. Like, so what I don't get anything if someone tells me like, I accept this risk. Okay, you accept this risk, and what happened? Like if something happened, so what are you going to do? Are you going to pay me? So if my social security is exposed and someone applying for like $25,000 like for loan on my behalf, and you know, putting me in big danger, like, are you going to do something about that? No, like I don't know. I just cannot like accept this. Like I just like thinking like it's easy to say those things, like, but when something happened, I don't see responsible people. The only responsible entity is like organization, and it's just a news saying like, yeah, we had data breach. This is what happened. This is and that's it. Like, so nothing else. And then end users, customers, they suffer. We suffer.
Right.
I don't know. But anyway,
I recommend that you do what you can to communicate, but don't let it frustrate you. That is one of the main reasons that cyber people feel burned out. They're sort of like, I keep hitting my head into the brick wall and nothing gets done, so I don't know, I'm going to go pump gas instead. Don't get to that point. be as intelligent as you can, be as descriptive as you can, and say, they just don't fully understand, so let me help them understand. And if they say they understand and they say they accept the risk and you know that the risk is too great, you've done all you can. And that's all you can do, Nerman. Just don't let it make you feel like you are stuck in a vice somewhere. If the organization doesn't have a good top-down approach towards security, find an organization that does. A place you can feel like you are making a difference. Okay? All right, last thing before we go. I wanted everybody to take a look at line 475, and I'm using this as an example. They're referencing PPD 41, U.S. Cyber Incident Coordination Policy. But that's not the name of PPD 41. So you could actually go in and say, line 475, PPD 41 should be this. That's a comment. If you look throughout the document for PPD 41, it's called either United States whatever, or it's called US whatever, but it's never called a policy. Why? Because it's not. It's a directive. That's the D. All right? So just those are the sorts of things that you can see and say, this was put together by a whole bunch of different people, and it hasn't yet been reviewed for thorough continuity. That one, line 475, is going to be one of our comments. Okay? So it could be something as simple as that, but it all helps. Does anybody have any final comments before we finish up? Great. I hope we have fun with this.
Yes, we will.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful weekend.
Have a wonderful, everyone.
Bye.
See you
All right,
next
bye-bye.
week. Bye.